2 times rework finally dropped, and in this video I will explain his abilities and give you guys a guide on how to use him effectively. So the first thing you need to know with 2 time is his passive ability, which is called Ablation. Basically, 2 time has a special bar that only appears for a short amount of time after you deal damage to the killer. To fill this bar, you need to deal damage to the killer. Once that bar is filled, that will grant 2 time a second life. The next ability that 2 time has is a stab. If you use this ability normally, he will lunge forward a very small amount. The distance isn't that much, but if you use the dagger while crouching, the lunge is significantly farther. So you could choose whether you want a small lunge, or if you need to reach a further distance, then you can use the dagger ability while crouching so you can get a farther lunge. And with the dagger ability, there are 2 ways you can hit the killer: in front of him and behind him. If you hit him from the front, that sounded a little weird, you will deal 25 damage to the killer, apply slowness 2 and helpless 1 for 2 seconds, and you heal yourself for 10 HP. Now, if you backstab the killer, it'll have a different animation where 2 times smirks. When you backstab the killer, that will deal 50 damage. It'll stun the killer for 3 seconds, and it'll heal yourself for 20 HP. And if you did a backstab while crouching, everything remains the same except the damage. It increases to 75 damage. And just an important thing to note is that the healing you get is the same whether or not you're standing or crouching. Next is his crouch ability. When you enter your crouch mode, you will be significantly slower. So your speed will be 9 while walking and 15 while sprinting. Which, for reference, your walking speed normally with 2 time is 12 and sprinting 24. So you are much slower when you are crouched. But while you are crouched, you become invisible and undetectable. And like I mentioned earlier, while you are crouched, the lunge you get from dagger is much farther. This ability lasts 15 seconds. And once you exit crouch mode, you gain slowness depending on how close you are to the killer. The cooldown also increases with the time you have spent crouching. So while you are crouched, you can stab. The lunge you get from the stab is much farther. The cooldown will increase the longer you stay crouched. And if you are last man standing, crouching is disabled. You cannot use this ability while you are last man standing. And then the last and final ability 2 time has now is Ritual, where basically he carves a respawn symbol into the ground with your dagger. When you earn your second life and die, you respawn at your carved symbol. And if it's a last man standing situation, only 30 seconds are added to the timer instead of the full amount. When you respawn, your health is reduced to 40 HP, you gain speed 2 for 6 seconds, but you also gain weakness 5 for 12 seconds. And this ability can only be used once per match. Now I'm going to explain the lore of 2 time real quick. It's not long, but if it doesn't interest you, there are timestamps. You could just skip to the guide, which is the next section in this video. So 2 time was part of a cult that worshipped the cycle of respawning and resurrection alongside Azure, who is an upcoming killer in Forsaken. And these two actually, if I'm not mistaken, were in a relationship. You can see this in milestone 1 and 2 skins of 2 time, in a picture from a Christmas event in Forsaken, and a photo of them before the incident. As time went on, 2 time's beliefs became darker. His obsession with the cult's practice became even deeper. Eventually, in a moment of delusion or insanity, 2 times stabbed and killed Azure using a dagger, most likely as a sacrificial act. This is shown in milestone 3. In their final milestone, 2 time expresses regret, saying, "I'm sorry." The betrayal shattered their bond. Now Azure holds deep resentment towards 2 time. And now for some tips and tricks on how to play 2 time effectively. So first we'll talk about his dagger. I think it's important to prioritize filling your ablation bar early so you can access your second life. To do this, you want to focus on cheap shots. And what I mean by that basically is that you just want to take advantage of the killer whenever you can. So if you see him not looking at you or focusing on another person, you could just sneak in, stab him, and fill up your bar. Basically, you want to do it safely. You kind of want to get in easy hits whenever you can so you can fill your bar and have your second life. Now, if you do stab him in the back, you of course get extra healing and your ablation bar will fill faster than if you stab him from the front. Now, as I've already mentioned, when you are crouched and you use your dagger ability, the lunge will be significantly farther than when you're just standing. But when you're crouched, you are way slower. And I see a lot of people just crouching, walking around, doing absolutely nothing because they're trying to get a stab, but they're not really using the mechanic effectively. A way I think is super effective is just to quickly crouch, and as soon as you crouch, just use your ability towards the direction of the killer. You don't have to stalk him while crouching extra slow. No, just in the moment when you see the opening, just crouch and as fast as you can, stab immediately afterwards. Now, even though 2-time is a sentinel now, you should still play carefully. You should still kind of have a survivalist mindset. You need to avoid being reckless or aggressive because you are very valuable as last man standing. You can relieve a lot of pressure, and the fact that your timer is significantly lower when you are last man standing should make you want to preserve that second life. Make sure you don't get hit so you're already weak. You want to be annoying to the killer. You don't want to be all up in their face like a Shaletsky or a Guest. And to help you do that, you're going to want to abuse your crouch invisibility. If you really want to, you can use bland skins because it just makes it harder to see you while you're invisible, which you can use to get out of chases or hide from the killer. And 2-time's crouch invisibility, it's not only just for your dagger, it's also a stealth tool. You can use his crouch invisibility similar to how you would use 007 to escape chases, to hide, and you can do the same mechanic where if you're about to be last man standing, you crouch right beforehand and the killer won't be able to see you, but you will be able to see him. Now, your ritual placement is kind of important. It may not seem too important, but you want to make sure you place it in unused areas or in a secluded space. So basically, you want to place it to where people aren't going to be around. So in the case that you do die and you use your second life, when you spawn in, you're safe. Because when you respawn, you get weakness 5 for 12 seconds. So if you place your ritual in like an obvious spot or in a place where a lot of people pass by and the killer's going to be around there a lot, it's going to make you an easy target. Like, you already have 40 HP and now you have weakness 5 too. It's not very smart to just place it in a populated area. You want to be secluded. You want to be away from everyone, from where the killer's probably going to be at. So when you do respawn, you're safe. Now, if you die during last man standing with your first life, you will not respawn. You will die, okay? So if you have your first life, you want to be proactive at first, but as you get closer to last man standing, you don't want to play risky. You want to be a little bit more careful. Now, some interesting matchups like John Doe, things that you need to know is that basically if you backstab John Doe, he recovers faster than what your stun duration would be. So if you do stab him, you want to immediately run because he gets speed 1 for 2.5 seconds. So he recovers quickly, and he's gonna get a speed amp on top of that. And with Cool Kid, his minions, you can actually stab them to fill up your ablation bar if you really need to. But I wouldn't recommend this. But if you are gonna do it, just be careful because they could still hurt you while you're stabbing them. So far, I'm enjoying the rework. I think it's pretty balanced, except maybe with some 2-time stacking. Maybe there could be a similar issue to like TAF, where TAF stacking was really OP and they had to nerf TAF stacking. But 2-time as a singular survivor, I don't think is overpowered. Now, what is overpowered though for me is the last man standing timer. When it goes down to only 30 seconds, it's crazy. In terms of balance changes and stuff, more time needs to pass by with us trying to character playing him to be able to safely say like, okay, yeah, this is OP, this needs a nerf. But yeah, overall, so far, I like the rework and I'm excited for future updates of Forsaken. Guys, hopefully these tips will help you understand 2-time's rework a little bit better. You guys have a more solid idea on how you want to play him when you get into a game. If you guys want to drop your own tips in the comments, feel free to do so. And since you've made it this far in the video, you might as well subscribe. Only 0.2% of my viewers are actually subscribed to the channel. It really helps out the channel a lot, and it helps me make the content you guys like. Don't forget to like the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.